Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Crossover. Starring Josh Johnson and Chris McGill. Featuring Christina Thorson. And of course, you, the Instagram live chat. Now, sit back and enjoy this week's edition of The Crossover. Powered by Card Ladder.
I got second. You got second? All right, we'll give you second.
Christina's like, dang, I almost got first. She got last and on the Card Ladder team.
And she knew when I pushed it, too.
You guys looking up driving patterns to Denver?
Yeah. And I don't know what tickets will look like. But, it would be, how terrible would it be if we went and they lost?
I mean, not as bad as if they won and you weren't there.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the view from the couch. We'll see. Maybe we do look. Christina?
Yeah.
We'll look after this. We've been following ticket prices, but
How much are they?
a lot.
I don't know what that means. Like 500 or like 20?
Like not so great lower bowl seats are 1,500 to 2,000 a piece.
That's not bad at all.
I got another card.
That's the thing. Okay, let's.
We were $1,000 and we were in the upper deck and our seats were like facing like this way compared to the court.
That's like going to a football game. Going to an NFL game, you pay $1,000 for something like that, and you're even further away.
Yeah, at least you're in any basketball arena, you're somewhat close.
Exactly. Okay, let's get rolling here so we can get some of these questions cracking. Welcome to the crossover. Friday, June 9th, 6-9, for those of you out there who think numerically. And I have no mail days. Maybe next year they'll be here. No, my mail day shipped. My mail day shipped and should be here Monday. So
You don't even remember what it is. It's been so long.
I don't. It'll be a surprise. It'll be great.
Let's hope it's not a jock strap.
Yeah, you know what? That's the pivot.
Shout out to Stacking Slabs podcast, the jock strap reference. It made an appearance. I have one mail day,
Let's go.
and it's a big one.
Yeah. Talk to me about this. I was taking my nap when you went live.
Yeah, I almost cried, but we move on. 2004 limited logos, and this one's out of 50. But there's actually two versions of this card. There's a home and an away, and it goes by the jersey that he's wearing in the photo, not the patch. So this is the home jersey, white out of 50. He also has a road where he's wearing the red, and that's out of 50. But one of the more popular ones, because of like the patch window is pretty big. I think a lot of collectors like that, and the Hall of Foil. So one of the more popular years of limited logos.
Yeah, love it. The Hall of Foil is incredible.
Yeah, now I need the other one. Now that I was like, I'll just get one. But now that I've got this, I'm like, I need the other one now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Which is the tougher one to track down?
They're the same.
Good.
They're the same. It's really more about finding one that has a nice auto and cool patch. That's really more of the game that you're playing with these kinds of cards.
Yeah, no, I get it. Congrats. Let's go. All right. Let's get into some questions, shall we? So, we're going to open this up with Publius 13's question, since the NBA Finals are in the air. If you could reverse the outcome of one NBA Finals, which one would it be?
That's easy.
Can I guess what you're going to say?
Yep, it's easy.
The 2018 Warriors Cavs.
No, that was a sweep, dude. No way. I mean, that would be nice, but no.
Yeah, that's the one I would want to undo. Okay, go ahead.
You want to pick like the toughest one that like, they were never going to win anyways. No, 2011.
Mm,
Because that removes his biggest black mark, and it just gives him the 5th ring, and it just makes it a lot cleaner.
got it.
Maybe the 2020 finals get the Suns a championship.
get that Chris Paul chip. My answer is
2021.
going to be a cheat here, but I don't let question askers dictate the parameters of my answers. So here's how we're going to roll. I like the Rockets to defeat the Jazz to make it to the NBA Finals the first time the Jazz played the Bulls, because then we would have gotten Hakeem versus Jordan in the finals, which is something we were denied all throughout the 90s, unfortunately. So and then whoever wins, I don't care. But that would have been great. Childhood me would have loved that so much. So
that's the one where Stockton hits that.
Yep.
Buzzer beater.
That's the one. That damn Stockton. Did you know that most of his assists are fake? They just inflated his numbers.
Wow. So that's just like one of those plumber things.
Yep. Yeah. No. They were actually plumbers doing the stat keeping as well.
And it wasn't the assist to the other Hall of Famer. It wasn't that.
No.
Got it.
Plumbers keeping the books, cooking the books.
Does he get to keep his steals record? Is that still alive or no?
No, those are fake too. All fake.
You should look at the gap if you're bored one day. The gap between him and second place in assists and steals. It's like this dude's never getting caught by anybody.
I refer to it as a delta, but yeah, it's huge.
The delta is huge.
Oh, God, I'm glad Stiff is here. Well, everybody welcome Stiff back after a long hiatus.
How did we ever come up with titles without him?
It was rough sledding, I'm not going to lie. I was really struggling. All right, I got that. Okay. Thank you, Publius, for the great question. And let's see if you can keep it up for a few weeks in a row. All right, Slab Daddy. Slab Daddy says, will Josh, I was wondering this too, especially with your new one, will Josh wait until the National to re-sub his recent LeBron pickups with PSA in person? Or have they already been cracked, and are they en route as we speak?
I was going to wait till National, but I can't do it. I already sent most of them.
Yeah, I knew you did.
I'm so anxious to like get them in their final state and in my card letter collection as the finale. I can't wait.
Dude, you are to procrastination what Superman is to kryptonite. I don't know if that works right. You do not procrastinate. You do things as soon as it comes across your plate. You clean the plate immediately. It's very impressive.
Yeah. The open DM is the proof of this. I cannot.
Yeah.
It's like my brain is just like, I gotta get it done immediately. Yeah. Work stuff, card stuff. Once I decide to sell a card, I'm like looking at it in my office. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to auction tonight.
Yeah. I can relate to that too. Even if I like include a card in a hypothetical trade or something,
it's gone.
I've mentally checked out.
That's when you know. It's like one of those cards that you never even think about trading. Then you'll never sell it. But if it's one that you, like you said, just comes up randomly in a thought, well, it's gone.
Yeah. Denny wants to know. I mean, are you an inbox zero person? Come on, Denny.
Oh yeah.
You hear about?
Dude, I'm an. I even have to categorize. I can't even I have them read in my Gmail, and I also have to categorize them so that my inbox is 0. Next level bad. Oh
yeah. All right, let's go.
let's talk about Nuggets. Get a question. You got your second favorite team on the brink of winning the championship. I can't let you go this long without enjoying your moment.
Well, 3 replies to that.
All right.
First, I don't know if anybody told you the Nuggets are my favorite team. No, I'm just joking. We bandwagoning hard over here. Second, there were no questions about the finals or about the Nuggets.
What the fuck?
And third, I don't want to jinx anything. No jinxing. No jinxing.
So you're
Just
a job's not done kind of guy. You're a Mamba mentality.
Mamba mentality. Job's not done. If I got 5 guys on me and all my teammates are open, I'm still shooting that ball.
I was a big. Well, fine. Then I'll do it for you. I was a big Aaron Gordon. I don't want to say hater, but I was a skeptic of Aaron Gordon. And tonight he had his best game of the playoffs. He was amazing. He was plus 30. I think I sent it to you. He was like plus 35 or something like that. He had 27 points. He was amazing.
He was blowing everybody away in the plus minus. It was great. He was awesome. I said back to you, I said most of the starters on the Nuggets are in intentionally diminished roles, and they could be in more glorified roles if they left this team and went to a worse team or a team that wanted to build around them. That's one of the things that they have working for them for sure, is they have players who are better than their rank in the team hierarchy, who are willing to take a diminished role. All for with Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. in particular, those guys could demand so many more shots on a different team.
Who are their top 6 guys? Well, we know the top 6 guys. Can I just name them?
Yeah.
It's the starters plus Bruce Brown. Those are the top 6.
Yep.
And last year they had 2 of those 6. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah,
Playing the playoffs?
Gordon and Jokic. Yeah, Gordon and Jokic. That's
so like I keep seeing Nick Wright just refuse to like give this team their due, and it's driving me crazy. And he's like, they haven't proven it yet. And I'm like, dude, they literally had 2 of these 6 guys last year, and now they've got a full team finally, and they're kind of like rolling through the playoffs here. Like, this is honestly, it looks like they're just playing a bunch of 8 seeds. Like, they're just killing everybody.
Well, they did play 2, so Miami does kind of finally look like an 8 seed as well. I think that helps. So we'll see. The job ain't done.
It's making me feel better about my Suns knowing that we got as many wins versus the Nuggets as everybody else combined.
Dude, the Suns, it's very NBA analyst tier to just like write off every team that doesn't win the championship as being terrible.
Trash.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, the Suns are great. The Suns were beset by no time to have chemistry. And then in the playoffs, having an injury to Chris Paul when they were up 10 points in game 2. So, we won't play what ifs, but if I'm a Suns fan, I'm like a little worried about the Monty firing. I thought he was a good coach. I wish the Mavericks would have went and stole him, but
you don't like Jay Kidd? I thought you guys loved him.
Dude, Monty is the winningest coach in the NBA over the last 2 seasons.
Well, last time I was there, you guys had like a Jason Kidd poster and like a shrine in the corner. Is that good?
Yeah, we love Kidd over here. We love kids in the hobby as well.
Kid dentists and real estate development investors. Those are your faves.
I'm thinking about doing a little real estate content over this weekend, or maybe next week, probably.
Can we just name this episode now? And it's called, okay, I want to make sure I got the name right from that series of stories you made. The guy's name was Jimmy, correct?
Jimmy, yeah.
Yeah, Don't Be Jimmy. That's the title of the show. Because it's in reference to Jimmy Butler, and also, you don't want to be that guy. Don't be Jimmy.
That's great. All right. Cards are for nerds. Writes in a comment rather than a question. COVID was so lame. I just wish we had some normal trend lines on cards. Sad face.
Dude, talk about that. That was kind of the main topic for your episode with Brett, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things were said on that episode. And but what I want to talk about on this one, my reaction to this is like, yeah, dude, and we have another question a little later from Ankesh that's in this ballpark. That's another good question. This one is like, there is something psychologically unsettling, like when the great MK Sports Cards like posts the graph of Luca's cards or Dirk or Kobe or Dwayne Wade or something, and he's just like, wow. You know, like he had some comment today, like, I guess it's back to the 50 of us just collecting cards again. It's just,
he's kind of right.
He is kind of right. And it's like, but there is something like demoralizing about seeing middle finger graph after middle finger graph, even of our favorite, best player, most collected players. And even if one were to have the wisdom to say, well, we're actually just approaching a healthy trend line again, possibly, hopefully. But yeah, that's my reaction. This is like, yeah, dude, it is demoralizing to see those negative slopes.
Yeah, from a collector / always trying to be buy-in person guy, the demoralizing part was like, I feel like I had to sit on the sidelines for 2 years while I wanted to just be buying specific cards, like it just didn't make any sense. And you talked about this with Brett, and we, of course, you and I, like, we couldn't hold out for 2 years. We did buy stuff at the peak, like it happens to all of us. We both did it. But I do feel like, there's a lot of cards that went into the areas of prices where it's like, I'm never going to own that card ever again. This is so annoying. There's no point in even trying. And now it kind of feels in the last few months that maybe it is possible on some of these, the prices are getting back to our range. So looking back on it, it feels like we were just kind of waiting for 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. I like that as just kind of a way to cope. if because.
Well, it's ironic because people had to wait indoors or like wait for things to open up and wait for vaccinations, right? Like it did kind of feel like a bunch of people just put their life on pause for 2 years.
Yeah, 100%. And that's sort of like, just there's a general lesson there of like, when it was easy and obvious to buy cards, many people were doing it, prices went crazy, it wasn't opportune. But now when everybody's outside, enjoying life, back in the office, things are, taking up a lot more of our time. It's not as easy to sit there and research cards.
Mm-hmm.
This is when one would expect, the shrewder buyer will get some opportunities.
I wish we could answer this question on a timeline graph, like we have graphs in Card Ladder. How many individuals are actively buying and selling sports cards at any given moment? I would love to see that graph, and I don't think anyone can actually produce it, but like the joke you referenced that MK said, like, I feel like it's only 50 of us, and we thought there was like 1 billion of us at the peak. But some of the numbers that you and Brett talked about, with like this total sales volume, doesn't quite line up with that theory.
Right.
And it might just kind of be like a prisoner of the moment feeling like everyone's doing it or nobody's doing it, and it's probably a little bit flatter than we are dramatizing it. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think that's probably right. I think also, if I may, as miserable as it feels to see all those down graphs, down trends, bro, it could be so much worse. There's a world of crypto kitties where things do go to zero. Like that's a world as well. I don't want to play like the glass half full here when the glass is only 10% full or 20% full, depending on what glass you're looking at. But like, I'm not gonna get too mopey and miserable because there's only 20 six-figure cards this month instead of 50.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I still have to look at like some of the golden PWCC auctions and like this card's selling for $600,000. There's like 3 cards right now on golden that are at over 500 grand, and I'm like, I mean, goddamn, 500 grand 5 years ago still to us would have been like, what is happening? $500,000 for a sports card? It's still, to your point, like it would be a lot worse.
yeah.
You're on a bender this week with like you're just like waiting to take these shots. You're like jock straps, crypto kitties. You're just like firing them off.
We're just playing the classics, man. We're just playing the hits.
We're like on our Taylor Swift tour right now. We're just playing all the big ones. She's got a lot of hits.
Dude, there's a Brady Champ ticket, BGS 9, which is the highest graded.
The card sells every month for $1 million.
Yeah, it's at 1.2 million on Golden right now. Time to go.
What's the highest graded? There's like that 9 is actually like a pretty big deal. I think didn't it? Because that one sold for like $5 million at one point, right? Or
Yeah,
something like that.
It definitely got way up there for sure. For sure. Okay, that's good. We're on our Taylor Swift tour right now.
Well, Bill Simmons did an episode about Taylor Swift, so I'm on the. It's on my brain.
Nice. Dude, did you listen to his most recent with Jacoby and Wild?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, they were
DJ Cole in the house.
They were in rare. What'd you think about the let the early fart out metaphor?
Thought that was the best part of the episode.
It was pretty good, man. All right, we're gonna get to that topic a little bit later, though. Chris Paul. All right.
Farting? No, Chris Paul.
Maybe both.
I had some thoughts. Yeah.
All right. Iowa Dave. So, you know what? Let's go. Let's get to Chris Paul right now, since there's just sort of a natural.
Wait, Eric, Steph wanted me to bring up the Taylor Swift conspiracy about the NBA.
No, do not. Everybody's seen the real.
Oh, Austin Reeves?
No,
No.
Austin Reeves. That's a funny one too, though. Okay, come over here.
It's a lot farther now.
Steph, why did you do this?
Oh my God. Our apartment's so big I have to roll like 500 feet.
Yeah, it's pretty far. I had to cross the entire room. Okay, so
Felt like she was like dragging a corpse.
it was you. You are the corpse that I drag around.
Go ahead.
So Taylor Swift, supposedly there's a conspiracy. There's a conspiracy. Taylor Swift, she was doing her tour, and every place that she was in, they got room. I fucked it up.
The team lost, yeah.
The team lost, but it was only East Coast.
So the cities that Swift has toured in, Philly, Boston,
Atlanta, Boston,
they all lost.
They all lost.
And then she's going to appear in Denver soon, but she's never gone to Miami.
She was in Phoenix.
Yeah, oh, there you go.
There you go.
Thank you, Steph. Are you pleased?
Yes.
So she hasn't been to Denver yet.
Not yet, but she will be going there.
After the championship's over. It's too late.
I guess. I don't know. The reel is it's really stretching it, I guess any Taylor Swift content is gold. This will probably be our most viewed episode of all time.
Yeah. We should just name it after her just because, what clicks.
Right.
People will probably listen to the episode on Apple because it's called Taylor Swift.
All right.
Just feel it. You won't believe what the boys said about Taylor Swift.
All right, let's go to Chris Paul for a second. So 2 questions from Card Shop Dead. The first one was, what happens to Josh's CP3 collection? And the second one is, let's talk about Chris Paul's destination for next season.
I have no idea what would happen on PC. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. He has not been waived. Good job, Chris Haynes, the world's worst basketball reporter. He's not been waived, so there's no decision final. I don't know. I kind of hope he stays.
Yeah. There was this whole segment before the finals game today about wouldn't it be great if Chris Paul ends up on a team that has championship aspirations and surprise, surprise, Stephen A. Smith floats out the Lakers and the Knicks.
He's on a team with championship aspirations.
Yeah, Wilbon comes in and says, what about Phoenix? What about the team that he's on right now that has a lot of great players, pushed reset on the coach, and has every reason to be extremely optimistic going into next year?
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of like when people were talking about what team is Giannis going to, and remember that? Or was it Giannis? Or it was Giannis, wasn't it? We were like, I feel like he's staying.
Yep. That's right.
And it was like, there was no news, and it just kind of moved on. I don't know. I feel like people forget how terrible the Suns were in 2012 to 2019, and then Chris Paul moseys into the building and they make the finals. It's fun to make fun of him. He doesn't have a ring. He gets injured. It's like an easy target, but the guy wins basketball games. So I'm okay keeping him.
Do you foresee him stretching his contract, taking a pay cut to stay with the team?
Nobody does that. We talk about this. Like, literally nobody does that. Name me one player that's like, I take a pay cut.
No, yeah. We never see it in basketball. Yeah.
Brady's was like a percentage cut, but nobody's talking about what you're talking about, which is like, yeah, sure, I'll take half.
Right.
Brady and Duncan are the two everyone says, but those guys took like 10 to 20% pay cuts, not 50.
Yeah. Okay. All right. 90s b-ball cards. Jake writes in. He wants to know, who are your top 10 favorite players from the 90s? I was thinking
10?
Maybe we could collaborate and just kind of make a little list here together. I don't know if I
like
can.
it.
I don't know if I can. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to contribute Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon to this list.
We're not doing this in order, right? Like,
No.
we're grouping 10. Okay. Penny Hardaway. I'll do Penny Hardaway and Grant Hill. We'll do like a little draft, two at a time.
All right, 2 at a time. Then Penny and Grant Hill. I didn't see you going with Grant Hill there.
I like Grant Hill.
Nice. Okay, I didn't know that. All right, nice. Well, then I'll take Shaquille O'Neal and David Robinson.
Nice. I'll take Kobe and Iverson.
Okay. Then
You take one, and I'll take one.
do players like Dirk and Tim Duncan count?
Yeah, they played.
Yeah. Then,
I think if it like guys that have really, really good cards from the 96 through 98 years.
all right. Well, then give me Dirk.
Then give me Duncan.
Good. There you go, Jake.
Dude,
That's
I feel like we left out Rodman as like a 90s card guy. So honorable mention to Rodman.
honorable mention to Rodman. We also left out somebody else that I'm very pleased about.
I don't know. Pippen.
Pippen.
I thought of him when I thought of Rodman, but I was like,
We'll go with Rodman. Shout out. That's a great list. Okay. Let's move on here. All right. Iowa Dave says, I feel like card shows are better social events than buying events. Imagine if eBay took away all the search capabilities on eBay and you had to just scroll until you stumbled into an interesting card. That would be terrible. That's kind of what a card show is, although that's part of the romance of card shows. But isn't it time that a showrunner built an app where dealers can log their inventory at the start of the show so that attendees can better find what they're looking for? Or would that suck too much of the fun out from the card show?
yeah, I feel like that idea app is a slam dunk. Like, I should just build that. It's such an easy win that everyone would love. And you could like look on the map, click on it, look through their inventory. But it does kind of remove some of the fun, I guess. I would like it, I think.
Yeah, you don't have to use it, right?
Yeah, I would still walk around and look. and have the social aspect, but it would be nice if I could, I'm thinking of the use case would be, and the night before I start, I look through and I know where to go first, just in case. Like if there's something I absolutely have to get in front of, I just run right to that table.
Yep. I'll tell you what I think the bottleneck is here.
Ooh.
I think the bottleneck is getting dealers to log their inventory before every show.
It would be like 10% participation rate, guaranteed.
That's the tricky part. If there was a way to get ensure dealer buy-in.
Are we not allowed to force people to do things? Is that?
I think not.
Maybe.
Although.
Maybe by Q3 they'll have it done.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Iowa Dave. NBA Diamonds in the chat says that idea has been around. That NBA Diamonds is always at shows, or I've seen them at a lot of shows. Say that idea has been around. No one has ever done it. Love to see it. So there you go. All right. 615 Collector, I'd like to welcome them back into the fold after a question asking a hiatus for a little while. It's nice to be back. Nice to have you guys back. The question is, this is going to be spicy. It's going to be, get your milk ready to drink after this spice.
That's the title. Get your milk ready to drink. I've never heard that. That's Bill Simmons level right there.
Okay, I don't know if that's a good.
That's a pre-fart.
Okay. They say, unpopular opinion alert, jambalaya cards are overrated. Mostly because of their design. We don't think they are aesthetically pleasing. So how important are the aesthetics of cards to collectors, or is it just about manufactured rarity? Zing, zang.
Dang.
Aside from your well-chronicled examples, such as the 86 Fleer, what are some card designs that you think are overrated and underrated?
I like that second part. It makes the question a lot harder. I actually like aesthetically the 97, 98 Jambalaya. I'm not like a big die cut guy, but they have like that honeycomb shine look to them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
I think they're cool. I don't think that's necessarily overrated. I can see why you might say that though. I personally was thinking that they were just gonna say because they're not serial numbered. Like that's the biggest reason I think they're overrated. If they were serial numbered, I'd be way more in line with the Jambalaya.
Yeah, I love the 615 Collector. I love their podcast. I'm not a fan of the anti-Jambalaya Zag. Jambalaya, I've never owned a Jambalaya, always would have loved to own one. But that is one of the consensus most beautiful 90s inserts, especially when you like limit the selection to like true 90s inserts.
Yeah.
It's pretty universally regarded as the best or one of the top 2 or 3. You know, this is like this is kind of like the Nick Wright Zag on Michael Jordan, where he's like, yeah, is he really top 5? You know, it's like, okay, I get the Zag, I get that it's a take, but Jambalayas to me, again, this is coming from somebody who's never owned one and doesn't own one. I think they're the cream of the crop. I just think they are just gorgeous cards.
I'm thinking of, did he use the word overrated, underrated designs? Is that the word, or underappreciated? What word did he use?
Yeah. What are some card designs that you think are overrated and underrated?
Cover your ears, Chris. I think that Scoring Kings is like massively overrated.
The 93?
There's just so many of them.
There are a lot of them.
And people are always, every time I talk to somebody who's coming back into the hobby, they're like, oh, I got to get that Jordan Scoring Kings. And I'm like, get that out of the way in 5 minutes so that you can start collecting for real. Because that card is so easy to get, and there's a fucking ton of them.
Yeah. I got Scoring Kings as number 2, I think, after Jambalaya. for like iconic best 90s designs. That's where I land on Scoring Kings. And I've owned several copies. I don't own a Scoring Kings now.
That's why I said cover yours.
No, I know. Sorry. One card in my collection that I've always wanted to love, but it's the classic 61.
No, 100% agree.
I've always wanted to love it. It's
Yep.
conceptually great, and it's also probably because I recently included it in a trade package that I've now I'm just like talking myself into
Yep.
yeah. And then
And that was one that's like people would come at you and be like, "I got this trade valued at $40,000. It's a serial numbered MJ," and you're like, "Yeah, but it's like the worst one." So let's calm down here. Maybe more like $5,000.
Right. Okay, and then underrated. Do you have an underrated one? Let's go.
I haven't brought this up in like a year, but I used to all the time. Cut Above. I think it's like the best looking non-serial numbered insert. The MJ has an awesome action photo. The sweet it's the most 90s fucking card. It's like super shiny. It's got the die cut like saw blade. I don't know. I love that card, and I feel like they're pretty reasonably priced. I mean, the population's probably pretty high, so it's not like they're hard to find. But
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Those are sick. It's hard for me to say anything 90s is underrated. It's all pretty well rated, I think.
linchpins, that's a good one too. Patriot sports cards. I like linchpins.
Yeah, linchpins is nice. But like there's like linchpins have sold for 5 figures.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have an underrated for right now. All right.
You're not getting those free picks tonight. That's your angle.
Yeah,
I get it.
No free picks tonight. Underrated, all my collection.
Just look at my Instagram, bro.
Yeah, anything on there, take your pick. All right. All right, now we get to Ankesh's question. AA Collectibles 91 says, why do so many people overemphasize past peak values when they are discussing current market dynamics? It's very surface level, quote unquote, analysis that lacks any sort of nuanced or informed discussion. Some of it occurs with other quote unquote assets as well, but data usually centers around year over year or year to date comparisons, combined with other nuanced qualitative and quantitative factors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that peak that he's talking about is pretty fresh in our minds still. And I'll use the same answer that you and Brett talked about. Like, I think at the beginning of the episode, Brett said something like, in reference to, was it Black Griffin cards question? Like, why do we keep talking about this? This kind of feels similar. And Brett said that he basically was saying, like, we need to learn the past to not kind of make the same mistake kind of thing. You know, we need to like look back on it and figure out what happened. And then you guys dove into the episode. So I feel like it's something around that is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think we're in an all-time high culture. We want things to be at their all-time high or at their all-time low. You know, we don't like, to Ankesh's point, we don't want to have the nuance of, oh, this card's, increased 15% in the last year, or it's down 22% year to date. That's not as sexy as this card has gone up tenfold since it last sold 4 years ago, or this card is down, 86% from its peak. Those are mind-boggling, eye-catching, headline-worthy numbers. So that's kind of why I think we like them, and we want to talk about that. And also, like, it's with collectibles as opposed to other markets. There's something in us that like feels like they should just incrementally go up. We feel like they should always be pushing to a new high, a new peak. So it's like there's something to that. Like there's some substance to that that's unique to collectibles.
Yep.
That we think about them in terms of what's the most they ever sold for, and not in terms of like how much have they changed over the last 3 months or 6 months.
Yep. I feel like that thought of the card should always sell for like slightly more than the last time is a collectible focus thing, because I'm the one that owns the collectible. You're the one that wants it. You can't just go out and buy another one. The only way for you to get it is to buy my copy. And in order to do that, I need to make a little bit of money. Otherwise, why am I selling? And that's kind of like that's what kind of like led to this whole 5% year over year thing for a long time. And then it just obviously got out of hand. But I always enjoyed that part of collectibles, which is like, if you want it more than me, I own this card. There's only 10 copies. If you want it, you're going to have to pay more than I paid. That's how it works.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Good question. There also is certainly wisdom layered into this question, which is nothing wrong with looking at markets and looking at the last 3 months or the last 6 months or year to date or the last year. That's completely fine to do, and it's probably more instructive when you're deciding, how to evaluate the market trend of a card. Okay. Vinny Slabarino. We can't read any of these. Well, we could. But, all right. Vinny Slabarino says, always enjoy the show. We know eBay and other auctions are second price auctions, meaning that the winner only pays one increment above the second highest bid. Correct. What if card auctions were first price auctions like Sotheby's, where the winner pays the exact amount of the highest bid? Would you still mega bid?
As you were like reading that question, I was like, no, the mega bid is gone. And that's what he's asking exactly. No more mega bid if you have to pay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Nope, there goes the mega bid. I would definitely the mega bid concept would change to like 10% over what I thought it should sell for. And that's my new bid,
Yeah, no, mega bids are dead in the water, man. Because like the point of the mega bid is really not to pay your mega bid.
It's to win.
It's never, it's to make sure you win. And then when you do end up in that unfortunate situation where your mega bid goes up against a different mega bid, you hate it. It's awful. It's awful. You're just you're holding out hope that you're the only person crazy enough to drop the mega bid, right?
Yeah.
So, not that's no. The mega bid would be dead. All right. Let's do Ryan Bitter. This topic isn't in our wheelhouse, but it's a big topic this week, and we'll give it a little airtime, I guess. Ryan Bitter says, let's discuss the Michael Rubin box scandal. Michael Rubin being the CEO of Fanatics. And then Nines Are Fine says, did Fanatics lose our trust already? So
you have to tell me what this box scandal is first.
I knew this. All right.
Sorry.
So Michael Rubin made a video with a famous soccer player.
Mm.
And I'm not going to pretend like I know much about this guy. I don't know much about him or soccer, but he's a big deal. And they brought some product to open, and out of one of the boxes came a Jackie Robinson cut autograph, which is one of the very best hits, I'm told, from this product, Top Sterling. And there's concern that a loaded box was brought for the purpose of filming this content, and that this great card, it was known in advance. This is the speculation, the worry, is that it may have been known in advance that this monster card was brought for the purpose of making content around giving the box to this famous soccer player.
I see. And there's there's no like smoking gun or anything like that.
No, I mean, if there is, I'm not aware of it. I haven't followed this story very closely.
Yeah. Did you mean this isn't our wheelhouse because we don't really like to speculate on, like
I mean, that's part of it too. But like, it's also just like it's just not something we focus on too often. Is like who's getting loaded boxes and why. And,
So this is kind of the similar outrage to the backyard break stuff.
Yeah, I think, but I think the concern level maybe is even higher here, just because like, and I get this, and I relate to this displeasure. Is this all just for show? Is this just like influencer culture on steroids and on human growth hormones and eating 80 grams of protein per meal? Like, is this like is that really what happened here? Is like the best or one of the best boxes in the whole product was identified, designated, and then taken out of circulation for everyday consumers to be able to buy so that it could be placed into this photo shoot opportunity? Because like, I think that's underlying all of this is like, are we losing the fairness and the opportunity for like everyday collectors to pull a card like this so that there can be this great photo op and this great piece of viral content made from it?
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of the biggest worry about having a potential monopoly being formed in Fanatics in terms of like controlling the outcome of cards over the next 5 years. If Fanatics like they now own a marketplace, they're working on like the whatnot variation. They've got breakers apparently, and then now they've got they obviously have like the licenses to print the cards. Like, it's becoming a bit of a monopoly, and so the biggest worry is that they go down the path of just like making this a marketing bonanza of celebrities and trying to replay the COVID track to like print money and make cards instead of focusing on what I think it should be, which is like the primary objective, which is like make the cards, make awesome cards, make ones that are in high demand from collectors and grow over time organically, etc. But yeah, I mean, this is always going to be a concern of ours from now until we know what happens.
Yep, I think that's about right. We don't know the answer. I don't know if we'll ever know the answer, but it's certainly worthwhile, and I think it's good for everybody involved to give a voice to these issues because people are very concerned about them. And it's still very early in the Fanatics regime, and this isn't just anomalous. A few outlier people who are concerned about it. Like, there's lots of people who are pretty upset about this situation.
The positive outlook on Fanatics taking over is that I feel like they're probably the best suited to grow our industry in the way that we would want them to, which is like bringing more sports fans into the hobby, like bringing more attention to like this aspect of connecting fans to the players is like another means of doing so by like collecting their cards. And so like if they can grow it through that sort of lens, I think that's like the absolute best case scenario. The worst case scenario is they just use their power to like bring in big celebrities and like try to push it through this marketing, influencer crap. So I don't know.
Yep. That's a wide range of options that we could see.
It's like we joke. I think I brought this up last week. Like, how many years are we gonna be like, oh, I can't wait to see what Fanatics does? We're just gonna be waiting infinitely.
Yeah. Okay. Jonathan Taylor Cards writes in with a question. As someone who likes to think he does well financially and loves cards as much as the next, I get perplexed looking at cards that sell for 5 figures and up. How does someone come to terms with parting with that kind of money for a card? how do you ever evolve into that? Is it a matter of building up equity in your collection and then selling stuff into bigger and better? Is it a continuous money dump? I'm just confused. I have a hard time parting with things. So the whole leveling up through selling is difficult, even though I have way too much quantity for my own good.
This is like someone needs to split open our brains and figure out why we spend all this money on pieces of cardboard. I don't feel like I have a great answer as to why we spend so much money on this stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I think that's exactly right. I don't think there is a great answer to this question. So there's certainly no need for us or anybody to encourage somebody else to be like, yeah, you should just, even though it doesn't make sense to you, why don't you go ahead and spend $10,000 on a sports card?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like we should be saying the opposite. If you feel that way, you probably shouldn't be this deep into it. Like,
exactly.
It's because like there was definitely a sense of, everyone else is doing it. Maybe I should be dropping. Like if I'm not dropping $100,000 on sports cards, I'm not doing it right. Right? It's like if I'm not buying high end or I'm not buying, Michael Jordan green PMGs, or if I'm not doing that, then I'm not really a part of this. And that's not the case at all. And if you look at the way that you and I do things, it's sort of like built up to this. We didn't always we didn't start by buying super high end expensive cards. It's just gotten to the point where we've sort of like evolved into it and gotten, bored of the stuff that was, a little bit like easier to get. So now like we want the more rare stuff, which happens to be more expensive, and it just sort of happens over time. It's you rarely like jump in as an investor and just get all super excited to spend 5 figures on cards, and you shouldn't be really.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like a mix of when people start spending 5 figures and up on cards, I think they usually have a mix of like a really deep passion for collecting, and they just sort of like hold their nose and say like, well, this is what it costs and this is what I have to pay to get it. I don't think many people are happy about it, obviously. But then secondarily, I also think that people who make those types of purchases believe in collecting as a market, and they're pretty confident in it. Like they recognize in themselves and in others that they've seen that they believe in the viability of collecting as a market.
Yeah,
like I think you've definitely got to have at least those two things going.
I mean, there had to have been that belief even during the peak when people like jumping into the hobby that had never spent more than $1, dropping hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. You have to have that belief at that rate. But for you and I, like one of the reasons that I spend this much is that I feel like I'm buying my way into this like very elite, prestigious group of people that own this specific items. And that's really like kind of the heart of collectibles. And it's less about like, I'm buying this because I think it's going to triple in value over the next 5 years. People may think that, and it may like seem cool to say out loud. You and I probably would just prefer like, yeah, I hope it just kind of stays even. It would be nice if I didn't lose money. I hope it goes up slightly over the next few years. But really what we're doing is we're buying these tickets into, this like very, very elite group of people that only can own these items, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's another sort of confidence builder that I've experienced buying higher end cards from time to time, is that trying to buy them and getting rejected. Mm-hmm. And seeing, that the price that people who own them place on it, and like truly understanding what it would take to get it. And then knowing that I'm competing, having real knowledge of the fact that I'm competing against real other people who are putting up similar or a little bit less or a little bit more than me, is a factor too. A confidence builder as well. Is like knowing that this is actually what it takes. I'm not just like pulling this number out of thin air. This market is being created by real demand from serious people who, are willing to make that that purchase. And that's why, like, relatedly, that's why people get so pissed off about shilling and fake sales and negotiating in bad faith and, you know, other tactics to try and manipulate the market for cards, is because it betrays that very important confidence that we need to have to keep on collecting cards, especially at high prices.
Yeah, I mean, if you and I step back, and I'll use your stuff an example, like, you know, if you came across a card and you're like, man, who is like the top of this category? Who's like the best Jokic or the best McCaffrey or the best Luka collector? You want to be on that list, right? You want to be in people's mind of like, man, if I see this LeBron gold refractor, I want people to think, man, Josh probably has that card, and if he doesn't, he needs it because he's got every other one. That's what I want. And for, you know, this Luka rookie, Chris has the freaking RPA. He's got the gold. He's got to have this one too, right? He's got everything else. That's like a prestigious list, and you can say that that's conceited or whatever. But that's why we collect, right? That's part of it. That's like a huge part of the reason that we do it. It's fun to join these like small lists of people.
Yes, agreed. I just want to read this from USA Patriot Cards. He's given a different side. He says, I have to fully disagree. Buying these high-end cards is like drafting players onto your real-life fantasy team. It's the closest we will ever get to playing GM. I could be all alone with my cards. I don't need any group.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely other reasons to do it, right?
Yeah. And Jordan Hagedorn says, this is our sport. Most of us are out of breath after a flight of stairs, but you can flex a PMG and you are elite.
Have you thought about it in these terms? I think you're gonna laugh. Like, if you actually, for me, if I actually met LeBron, I'd be like, yeah, you're much better than me at basketball, but I have a fucking better PC of you than you have. So I don't know. That's kind of what Jordan's saying, right? Like, that's our way to flex. Is like, I actually have a better PC than you have of yourself, guy. Nice try.
Yeah, and if I pulled that on Christian McCaffrey and he comes back and he says, but I'm actually an athlete and you're just collecting pieces of paper with my picture on it, you know what I would say back? I would say, buddy, you run around the field with the ball for a living, so I think we're pretty close to even.
You throw a ball through a hoop, guy. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
All right.
So you're saying neither of us are curing cancer or putting people in space. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's right. Yeah, that's.
Well, I have a better piece. How we both call them like guy and buddy, like we like to like demean them at the very end.
Yeah, like we're trying to assert that, you know, we're trying to balance this out by putting in that slight dig at the end. But although we may not be curing cancer or putting people on the moon, we do provide
their hard values.
We do provide a mental release and a playground for people who remove cavities for a living. So we're contributing to the medical sciences on that level.
That's why I was trying to workshop a rant around this whole like influencer versus collector thing that keeps building up and brewing and is probably going to come to a head at national with several 11-0 3-on-3 tournament fights and stuff. Like, we're always going to win this battle because in the end, like, it's supposed to be a hobby. It's literally called a hobby. It's meant to be a release. It's meant to be fun, stress-free. Now we're talking about like what founded the country and entrepreneurs and like all these business related things. Like, that's not what it is. You know, like you could try to finagle it that way, try to make it seem like, you know, the end goal is to flash wads of cash on your table, but like the actual end goal is for weirdos who can't play in these sports to find ways to enjoy their lives outside of work, outside of politics, outside of business and entrepreneurship. You and I are lucky enough to be able to create a business in this space, but we wouldn't ever have done it if we didn't already have, our lives rooted in the hobby aspect of it, the fun part of it, so that's the rant.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm reading a book right now that's sort of at the heart of it is this idea that taking things too seriously, trying too hard, self-aggrandizing, prioritizing the rush or the high of short-lived things are losing strategies. And it reminds me of sort of what you're getting at here. And like that's one of the counterintuitive great parts of the hobby is that it's really not supposed to be taken too seriously. It's supposed to be recognized as something that's fun. It's supposed to be recognized as something that's childish even. And that those are actually the things that make it great. Are those things. So, all right. Basketball Card Collector 93 with a classic. How do you effectively keep up with cards that you want when there are so many platforms nowadays?
It's really tough. I mean, so selfless plug. I use Card Ladder Shop a lot. That gets me about 90% of the way there, 80%. And then next is like eBay save searches, and then after that it's like annoying everybody on Instagram all the time. Searching Instagram and trying to find the private stuff that's not listed on marketplaces. It's hard, dude.
Yep, it is hard. It's annoying. All the above. I mean, outside of using Shop as an aggregator of marketplaces, have a laptop that can support 15 tabs being open.
And refresh them How often are you refreshing your save searches and stuff these days?
I just keep an eye on a few of the major auction houses, maybe because the major auction houses, I don't have to move super fast. If maybe it's ending in a week or it's ending in a month.
30 years, yeah.
I'll see it eventually. But eBay, I still look at 20 times a day. I don't know. That might be a lot. There's any time I open my phone screen for the first time in that browsing session, the first thing I'm going to is eBay.
Yeah. It's really frustrating when you're after something and then you see it in sales history and it's like, I would have bought that if that was.
Right.
Because I have if you go to our sales history, which everyone knows about, that's like our big thing. But you can actually save sales history queries and filters. Do you know this?
What about them?
You can save them, so you could type out a huge long string and have a filter of min price 1,000 and filter by certain platforms. You can actually save that. So I go through those. I have a saved list of past sales because not only do I want to look at what hasn't sold yet, but I want to look at what's sold today, what interesting cards sold in my realm. Did I miss something? Do I need to go pester somebody? Did it slip past me? So there's two sides to it.
I did not know about, but I see the graphic here that I can save searches in sales history. Yeah, that's a great way to torture myself.
Yeah, my favorite one is just basically any card that sells for over $1,000. There's so many cards that sell for $1,000 every day, and I just like to see them, and it kind of gives me an interesting outlook on, the fact that the hobby isn't dead, some might say, and a lot of interesting cards you'd never think would sell for $1,000 are on there all the time.
Okay, I like that. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna start doing that. Jonathan Wall says, what do you make of the shortage of 90s Michael Jordan Grails in the June PWCC premiere? And I think we can expand that. There's just a shortage of a lot of big cards in the June PWCC premiere. What do you make of it?
Man, you want the half full glass?
No, this is glass half empty season.
Glass half empty? I can't think of one.
All right.
The half full is that like
Okay, sorry.
people
Give us
are
a last.
people are finally slowing down on dumping their cards and like they're just ready to keep them now at the current values.
Yeah.
There's just less to sell. Like the auction houses just are. The pressure to put on people to sell their cards is getting tougher and tougher because people are like, well, either I'm taking this giant loss or, it's just like this stuff isn't selling for enough to make it worth my while to send it to you to auction.
Right.
Stuff is cheaper, so there's going to be less getting thrown into the auction. So it could be a sign of like we could be reaching this inflection point.
Yeah, I think that's right.
What's the half empty?
The half empty might be. I don't know. What's the downside? Downside is that the opportunity to wait for the same card to be resold 5 different times and buy it at its lowest might have gone away.
No, it's just like I just love how we're like, there's too many cards at auction. This is why the market's going down. Now we're like, there's not enough cards for me to buy. This is boring. There's no cool cards to look at. It's like,
dude, this is all about bitching and moaning.
Okay, well, I get it. So like now we're complaining there's not enough good cards coming to auction. All right.
This is America. The customer is always right. If we don't get a perfect experience, we will start a mob on Twitter to have everybody fired from the CEO down. And we need free cookies and a coupon for a milkshake or a home or an ice cream cone.
Someone in the chat, give me what's the downside of this auction having 40% less than the last one? What's the downside that I'm not seeing? Like we've got less. We don't have a PSA 10 Fleer Jordan. Oh my God, what are we gonna do without one of those? There's not a 9.5 Ultimate LeBron. Oh my God, the first auction in 7 fucking years without one of those. Wait for the next one, guys.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. The chat is quiet on this one.
Dirk 1 of 1 in this auction. There's like 7 more Trae Young RPA. So like you want to know what hasn't reached the bottom? Just look at the cards that are still in that auction.
Dude, there's another Brady champ ticket in this auction.
There you go. So those cards haven't reached their bottom yet. They keep going up. Trae Young has like an RPA 9.5 in there. Shout out to the meme. Young just I don't know how Trae Young is still in the premier auction. That's my take. I thought he was moved down to weeklies.
Okay. Peace Be the Journey asks, are raw cards done? Are authenticated or graded cards the only way forward from here? And by authenticated, I think he's referring to like the authentication that we see on raw cards at PWCC and the eBay authentication program for cards over a certain value.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of like OG collectors that when I go through their page, I'm just like astounded at some of the cards they still have that are raw. Like I'm pretty sure Spinatron still has a raw Kobe Green PMG, for example. But I mean, it's not dead, right? There's still like people that enjoy it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And there's still if I'm a buyer, I get an extra little. Who's the guy who talked about the tingle running down his leg? I still get this extra sensation when I see a raw card. Chris Matthews, maybe? Yeah, I feel like Chris Matthews when I see a raw card. It excites me a little bit more. It's like, I will be ushering this one into the new era by grading it. So I think there's always going to be a place for raw cards. I think authentication is good. It's neat. It should help increase confidence. I don't know. I'm not. Josh, what is this question getting at?
That I think there's a little bit of a angst on like the corporatization from Fanatics. Like, everything has to be graded, everything has to go through their auction, everything has to be marketed properly. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sensing last week's theme was like market. This week's theme to me is a little bit more like nervousness around the pending corporatization of the hobby.
I think that's astute.
Like, people are like, I can't even collect raw cards anymore without people telling me that everything has to be graded by a certain grading company. Like, we like grading, you and I, but we certainly would never tell like everyone has to grade with this company and otherwise it's not collecting. It's just, that's ridiculous. It goes back to the, this is a hobby. So if one person enjoys the cards with less plastic surrounding it, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'll take that thread. You've sparked a thought in my mind, which is me as the collector, I want to be the one to have the right to take the risk on the raw card, to decide for myself if it's authentic or not, to decide if it should be graded or not. I want to have that. That's been the domain of the collector and the buyer and the seller for a long time.
Yeah. That seems like it's I don't really buy raw cards anymore. And I feel like I used to buy more and I'd be the one grading, but you're right, there's a lot less of that.
Yeah. This is when Stiff is in the chat. I just have so many potential titles now. Okay.
Someone in the chat said something about the half empty glass about PWCC Premier being small, like the people are losing faith. My response was like, but they had faith last month?
Right.
So then again, that's why I get this angst. It's like, okay, so the Fanatics take over? Is that the theory?
Right.
I don't know about that. I think it's just like a simple economics thing where like the prices have hit a point where like less people sell. This just seems like math to me.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. Cardiac Kemba PC says, should we always wear protection when buying sports cards? Take this in whatever direction you please.
Like a cover.
You know what the term raw dog means?
No, could you go into great detail explaining that?
I will not. The chat can look up the term raw dog, and we've got raw cards, so that's where I end my thought.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I have no idea where to take that question. Cardiac Kemba PC. Sorry, man. All right. Drake's PC says, shout out Drake. One comment made on the latest Stacking Slabs podcast was about buying rare cards whenever, because you might never have a chance again.
Mm-hmm.
I've felt that way before about rare cards, some even numbered to 10 or less, only to see them pop up again and again. Conversely, there are cards numbered to 50, cards numbered to 100 that I've passed on, thinking I'd never get another shot. Sorry, thinking that I would get another shot, but I haven't seen another one since. So, other than numbering, what are some traits of a card that can tell you to buy it whenever, maybe now, maybe wait, versus, I'm sorry, I've completely butchered this question. He says, other than numbering, what are traits of a card that tell you to either buy it as soon as you see it, whenever, or you can wait. You can wait for the right time to buy it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't have one specific answer. Then I want to let you answer more, since this is kind of on the topic of the show with Brett. I mean, I'm more in the zone right now of like finding the best version of the specific card, and that's only really applicable with the patches and the autos, I guess. Like, so if I see one that's like, wow, I'm never going to see that patch again. I've seen 60 of these sell in the all-time sales history, and I've never seen a patch like that. That would be my indicator, like, okay, I should just buy this one. This is the nicest I've seen. And that's kind of similar to the, scarcity print run thing. So that's another trait, I guess.
Yeah. this is such that's right. I think that's right. That's sort of getting at the thought process is like, well, what truly are the like patch cards are tricky, autograph cards are tricky because there might only be one or two copies that have the Apex patch or a non-streaky, non-smudged autograph that's been well preserved. Like, if it's not a memorabilia card, then it's even with one of ones, you can see them come back to market 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So I mean, I've never been one to try and time the market, and my time horizon for the cards that I collect is long term. So I don't know what the answer to this question is. I don't know how to time this. I don't know how to time it. I don't know what the right indicators are for timing when to bite on a card versus when to wait, because there will be more coming.
You just kind of go with your gut yourself, like in some of these 101s and stuff.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, plus, like, dude, the way that I buy cards is like it's very motivated. I'm not sitting back calculating that this is the right market opportunity for an undervalued player. You know, that's not my approach. My approach is like, I am very passionate about what this card would mean to my collection journey.
Yeah.
So I'm going and get that's pretty much.
You're just a vacuum.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. If that piece of dirt's on the floor, you're picking it up. You're not focused on when and how.
Right. Yeah, and I think I think like the virtue of that approach is that it should wash out over time, because I will do some buying at the high of the market. I'll do some buying at the low of the market, and hopefully it washes out.
Yeah, I like that we have different approaches on this one. We usually agree and like do the same kind of things. I think we're pretty different on this one. Or it's probably just more so because I tend to collect more cards that are like 50 print numbers and to 100 in that range, like 25 to 100. Like there was that Instagram trend going of like show your 10 cards. I literally have like 2 cards that are numbered 10 or less. Like all my cards are like out of 50, 25, 20, 18, 100. So that's just for some reason, like I just sort of like am drawn to that area.
Sure.
So I feel like I can answer this question a little bit better because I bought a Pop 2 PSA 10 gold refractor last week, and it was like I've never even seen one of these PSA 10s. I don't even care what the price is really. Like it looks good to me. Hit the bin, and then another one came up that I need to add to my run, and it's a Pop 24, and I'm like, I'm not going to pay more than what you just paid. Like I'll get the next one. So it's just kind of little things like that you pick up.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. PLB card says, sometimes I see someone mention someone else in their story. The person mentioned will then repost the story. We've all seen this. Then the original person will repost that the person they mentioned reposted to their story. What is the appropriate amount of times to go back and forth like this? And what is the longest you've seen this phenomenon go for? Christina, you once did a long thread.
Yeah, who was it with?
I don't know.
Was it with Lamine?
I don't know. Probably.
But it was a joke, right?
Yeah, like it was like, you stop. No, you stop. I'm not gonna stop. Like you better
Or
stop.
maybe that sounds like G, something G.
I think it was Marino, wasn't it?
What do you say?
Was it Marino?
I'm about to get uninvited to Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know who it was, but yeah, I went back and forth with someone for a very long time.
Yeah.
It was like so many times you couldn't read the original text anymore.
Yeah, it was like Inception like 50 times, or like looking down a two-way mirror thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
feel like you should be able to, if someone tags you in a story, you should share it, and then that's that. Because the next layer is like, this is the one, okay, this is gonna be potentially offending people, but that's fine. Let's say I tag someone who's like kind of an influencer, famous-ish person, and then they share my post, and I'm so excited that I share their share because they're famous and I did it. Like I got them to share my. That's where it's like, okay, you got it.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm talking about? It's like they shared my post of my post. I did it. No, now you're just sharing a share.
All right, Josh, but like, let's not be assholes because like people do that with card ladder all the time. Where after we share, they're like, "Sweet card ladder share."
He said that this is a controversial take.
I know,
Okay.
and I'm just
I'm
warning
gonna-
him not to be such a fucking asshole.
Christina says that we don't want Christina to get too worked up. She still is on the mend. Christina says, "Hey, you can be happy if card ladder reshared."
I did preface it with like, this is gonna make some people mad.
Yes. How about this? How about just like, there's only one option on the table, and it's at the discretion of the tagged person. That's it. You get one reshared. That's it. Done. I don't even think. Why is it even a functionality that I can reshare somebody resharing that?
Seems like a bug in Instagram that you should even be allowed to. Dennis got me though. He's like, "What if LeBron reposted your limited logos?" I'm like, "Well, now I'm the asshole."
Dennis,
Okay. He's like, "God damn it!" Now I'm the guy who's like, "All right, that guy's pretty famous. I'll share that one."
honestly, also, in the spirit of Josh's offending many people, I'm going to take a stab at offending people as well.
All right, thank you. I can't
Shocker.
all of you tomorrow.
My turn.
Yeah, Christine gets all this flack, and we just like sit back and rest, put our feet up, and like, oh yeah.
Look, I can't let Josh have all the fun here. I think a tasteful no reshare at all is sometimes in order. Okay?
You trying to
I
walk
think that's
up me, dog?
I think that's sometimes the move. I think sometimes it's just like, because sometimes this pressure is created on the tagged person to reshare something that they're tagged in when it's really not syncing up with the flow of their stories, or it's just not something that really needs the reshare, but there's like this strong obligation to reshare every tag. And I think we should move towards a culture of maybe just we don't reshare much at all, and we just let it ride.
I had my post today of my new card, and I made a story, and then Dennis did the cropping of the jersey, which I always love, so I made that one. And then 3 people tagged me like, oh, cool pickup or whatever. And I did not reshare those 3 because I'm like, man, I feel like I've already posted enough bragging about myself. I don't need to look like I'm bragging more about, look at all the people, you know what I mean? So I had to draw the line for myself to be like, all right, 3 is plenty. Like, I already look like a douchebag.
Yeah. Yep. These are the hard decisions, because like people get excited, and we all want to be happy together and pump each other up and stuff, but
Positivity, like Jimmy.
yeah, exactly. Okay.
That was the low-key the best story sequence of the week. I was literally
What that was all about, didn't you?
I was literally on the beach as I was reading it, and I was just like soaking up the rays of the sun, grinning from ear to ear, just like, this is so good. I know exactly what he's talking about, and I'm just gonna read every line of this so slowly.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, oh god, it's a 5-parter. It keeps getting better. Jimmy just keeps getting worse. This guy sucks.
Yeah. All right. I think this question was written in a sarcastic tone.
I'll be the judge of that.
Okay. Mick Wildcat says, will Messi's move to the MLS send the overall sports card markets soaring to new unimaginable heights, or perhaps even the global economy?
I hope that's a sarcastic tone. Let me put it that way. To the moon. Whenever I see people post those, I'm like, are you excited that he's coming to America, or you think that your cards are doubling? Which I have to try to figure that out for myself.
Does the move to the MLS mean that his cards are going up? Does it mean that? I don't know.
I was told that the MLS is where you go to like retire at the end. You know, it's like your Florida, literally Miami, Florida. It's like your retirement where you go to play golf and like you suck now. Isn't that what the MLS is?
Yes.
I guess on Twitter it was being for those of us who don't know much about soccer, people were asking what's the NBA equivalent of this, and they said it would be LeBron going to the Shanghai Sharks.
I was gonna say the Shanghai Sharks. Those are some of my favorite memes when like a player has one bad game and then you just like see them in a Shanghai Sharks jersey. Those are the best, dude.
Yeah, Russillo had a nice segment on his podcast this week about somebody explained to him as a layperson with respect to soccer, what is this really, how does this work out? Why did he choose this club, etc.
Yeah, I like how you chose LeBron as your example, going to the Shanghai. Oh, because of the Messi. Is that what you're saying?
This is not my choice. This is what everybody on Twitter was saying.
Yeah, well, LeBron's not going to the Shanghai Sharks, so everybody calm down.
Right. Okay, another one.
So is Messi not good anymore?
Okay,
Is Messi bad?
Wait, hold on.
He just won the World Cup.
You can't just end it there because it's not the same as the Shanghai Sharks. It's where great soccer players go to retire, but also like it's not the Shanghai fucking Sharks. Like
He put some respect on Jimmer Fredette's name.
Look, you put some respect on the MLS because
And on Stephon Marbury.
the fact
And Dwight Howard.
Hey, that's Taiwan.
Oh, my bad.
So what's going to be interesting about this is you're going to have kids who aren't good enough to play in Europe coming out of college, like American kids going up against the GOAT. So like it's going to be an interesting transition period where MLS might catch some like new fans, and like supposedly Inter Miami got like 4 million new followers after the announcement. I see him laughing. I hate you. I hate
Also, I have a title suggestion.
What?
Instead of the crossover, the Coughover.
I have to. Dude, I was going through a reel. You know what's that called when you're just stuck in the scrolling of the reels?
You went down a real hole.
A reel hole, and one of them was like Jimmer Fredette lighting it up in a 3-on-3 like USA like international. Did you see that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Dude, I love the 3-on-3 league, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmer was like fucking lighting it up, and I could not stop watching it. I was like, this is the best 3 minutes I'm going to spend today is watching Jimmer Fredette light up these French guys or whatever it was.
Yep, for sure. I love that 3-on-3 league, dude. I used to watch that league over the summers.
It's like outdoor, right?
Yeah, it's outdoor. It's 3-on-3. You just take it back to a 3-point line.
Man, that's like awesome. That's like, I mean, he didn't win 11-0, but it was pretty good.
I got 2 sessions of ball playing in this week. So I'm ramping up. I'm ramping back up.
Hooping. You've been hooping.
Been hooping. All right. Two questions in tandem here. One from Drake's PC and then the other one from Stacking Gems. Drake says, per the card letter index, only two categories are up year to date, wrestling and Pokemon. With all the other categories down, what conclusions can be drawn or assumed about these two categories? Side note, we need more modern wrestling cards in the card letter wrestling index. And then Stacking Gems says, what are your thoughts on pop culture cards like wrestling, Star Wars, Marvel, celebrities, music, etc.? It seems to me that they have the biggest growth in this decade.
I mean, I always feel like I give the same answer to this, which is that I love those other categories. Like I know we might point at them and say, they have their like big middle fingers, and that might be the easy reach is to say like those are the next ones to have the middle fingers. But I just love those categories because I just feel like they have such great collector bases, and I'm all for new card categories popping up as people passionate about wrestling, especially dude like Drake, Brett, like some of these guys are really, really passionate about the wrestling community, and to see them have this era of cards that they can really grab hold of is exciting. Like they've got these modern Prism cards, they've got some of the old Topps Chrome, they've got cool releases of big name brands making these products. It's really cool to see. Versus, I wanted to like collect tennis because I like tennis and I played it as a kid, but the products suck. There's not like a real tennis company making these cards. So I love to see wrestling have its moment with these like big name brands.
Yeah, it's always been a reach of our industry to try and make everything have its card collectible market. Like, there's an ideal world where like The Office has a set for every series,
Right.
a set for every season, and it has grails and autograph cards and like on and on. And I think Josh Luber really was like big on this. He took it to its real extreme, where like different cities like would have. I think he mentioned this once on our show. He said different cities I think he even said like the dentists in a city, like the top dentist would have like a card or something. Maybe I'm misremembering this, but that's always been a fun dream that manufacturers have reached at from time to time. That's why we have Simpsons cards from the 90s. That's why we have, and I think like wrestling is like a lot closer to the traditional sports related card category, but it's entertainment too. It's some type of hybrid, and it would be cool if like everything could be interpreted through the medium of cards one day.
Yeah.
And that people who want to collect but maybe they're not big sports fans or something, that they could enjoy the same market, the same camaraderie, the same community that sports fans have got to enjoy.
Yeah, I said that the tone of this week kind of felt like the corporatization. I also feel like the tone is also somewhat related to this question where it's like everyone kind of wants their community to be heard as card collecting, because like we've been pushed jerseys and tickets, and it's like, man, there's actually like this massive community of wrestling card collectors and Pokemon card collectors that have been here for 25 years, and wrestling cards that date back to like vintage Hogan rookies and stuff like that. And I would much rather see us put the focus on those groups that have really gotten some nice shine in the last year than I would, moving over to fucking jock straps.
Well, the Dumb and Dumber mini bike that
Dude.
it went for $20,000. The one that Harry and
dude,
Harry and peed on each other, frozen.
I know, but okay, like that's hilarious. Someone paid $20,000, but like that's like the number one piece of memorabilia that could possibly come out of that movie, and people are spending more than $20,000 on cards every day. So like cards, it's funny. It's like a funny headline. Like someone spent 20, but still like there's not really a market for freaking mopeds of silly characters. And
Yeah.
did you listen to did you ever listen to Rewatchables on Bill Simmons? He just did that movie.
No, I do not. No.
So he like goes through classic movies and like recaps them. It was pretty good. He just did Dumb and Dumber.
Okay. I just want to give that collector or whoever it was who paid $20,000 for that moped, I want to give them a better collecting experience by giving them a 2.5 by 3.5 inch piece of paper.
Oh yes! You just hit it. You nailed it. You just nailed it, dude. Like this is why cards are better than everything else, is because you don't have to store a goddamn moped in your garage and to say that you're a Dumb and Dumber fan. What if you had the Lloyd Christmas Superfractor?
Right.
Come on, bro.
Exactly. And like I think, but you know what I think? I think it's so important to like have the releases be really well made and be contemporaneous with the release. I don't love the set coming out 20 years later. I understand that sometimes it's the best we can do, but like, yeah. So
yeah, like,
all right.
You just said it. You've neatly packaged and organized why we're making the push for cards versus other things. Is like, man, if you could have a nicely organized set release of Dumb and Dumber, you'd have way more interest in collecting and being associated with being a fan of Dumb and Dumber than having to buy a goddamn moped and figure out where to put it, or a makeup kit.
Exactly. Yep. How many times have you ever taken an interest in some part of culture or something, and like you went to go see if there were any cards of it, and you were disappointed to see that there just weren't any, or there weren't any good ones?
Tennis and Office.
Yeah, it's definitely happened.
Dude, if Office had like a real release at the time the show came out, like a Topps Chrome, I feel like I would own some of those cards. It's like my favorite show. You know, it's like, how can you not want to connect? Like, LeBron's my favorite player, therefore I want to collect LeBron's best cards, and it's become this lifelong chase at this point. You know, it's like, I feel like it would be a stretch to think I wouldn't do the same with Office.
Dude, we should have 4 sets of Succession Topps Chrome for each year of the series, for each season of the series. And then like you'll have like your first Logan Roy Superfractor. Yeah.
I'd be a Kendall Roy super collector.
Dude, that would be funny to see like who sells for more, you know?
Yeah.
Kendall, you know, Shiv or
maybe
Roman.
Maybe Luber was onto something.
Yeah, he's had an idea from time to time.
Yeah, because like, what do I, as a Succession fan, what do I do? Buy a fucking script? Like, what do I do with this thing? It's like, or buy like the jacket that Kendall wore, and it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? It's so weird. Versus like, I've got the one-of-one documented, organized Superfractor. You know, it's just a way easier. This is why, we're trying to explain why cards are so popular, why they're valuable. It's because it's just so neatly organized. You said it perfectly. It's like a 2x3. It's just so neatly packaged that say like this. This is like proof that I'm the #1 fan of whatever in this very small package. I don't have to freaking buy a storage unit to prove it.
Yep. Or like Cheers recently had its whole bar set up sell.
Dude.
Where am I gonna?
What if you won that? You're like,
Well, I had Kevin James said to me that maybe somebody will buy it and try to make a bar out of it, like make it an attraction.
Do you put that in the vault?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
Dude,
There's probably a vault for that.
If it takes them 3 weeks to ship a card out of a vault, imagine how long it would take them to ship a bar.
Right. Okay. Schmo 50 2.0 says, is Josh still collecting PSA 10 Charizard or other Pokemon cards?
No, they're too easy to get.
All right, let's go.
Seriously, they're so easy. They sell all the time. It's like what if I told you you could only, if you collected Jordan, you could only collect like Fleer PSA 10s.
Right.
That's the equivalent.
Nope, I get it. Okay. I think it's we've reached the time in the night where Brack's Ball Cards actually wrote in 2 questions this week, which, a lot of effort goes into those.
What was that thing last week? The jerking off, or what was it?
Jackin.
Jacking off.
Yeah, and he did make reference to that in one of them, I think. Okay, so he goes, all right, so I'm just going to read one of his questions, all right? He says, we all know investors and flippers are the lifeblood of the hobby, but we also know that the hobby is a true ecosystem. You could even say that it's its own society. Some might even say an animal kingdom. Now to the point. We've established that investors and flippers are firmly entrenched at the top of the hobby food chain. Without us, the whole thing collapses. But my boy Jackson has been positing that influencers are more important. Can you believe that? Personally, I think the hobby food chain from top to bottom is this: investors and flippers, then influencers, then breakers, then content creators, then executives, parentheses, Ken, Lubes, Nat, Rubes, Rob V, dentists, auction houses,
Lubes and rubes.
Auction houses, show promoters, card shops, with collectors obviously living in the gutter of the hobby, feeding off of our scraps.
How did he spell lubes and rubes?
No question. Yeah. Just dropping truth bombs. Can't wait to start jacking it, JCKN, with the whole hobby tonight.
How do you spell lubes and rubes?
Okay, lubes is spelled Lubes and rubes is Rubes.
Okay. Could have used the Z, so point taken away for that.
Point taken away.
I feel like the true peak of comedy is like just whatever this is, just like pure satire, just complete sarcasm. He's like inversing everything. The collector's in the gutter. He's going in the complete reverse order. This is comedy.
We're just here to give a voice to lots of different perspectives in this hobby. So, all right. Any other reactions?
I mean, because he's so sarcastic, if you reverse that whole pyramid, he's completely right. Because I think you said influencers are first, and I would have them at the bottom. So there you go.
Right. For sure.
Nailed it.
Okay. All right. Next question here. 615 Collector asks, if the configuration of a hobby box is just one pack, then is it really a box or is it just a pack?
I've always thought this about those briefcase products like Flawless, where it's like you already know where I'm going with this. Where it's like,
No.
wow, here's like where they're like, oh, it's a case, and it's literally just like 2 briefcases with 3 cards in each. I'm like, how this is so different than what I'm used to thinking about for a case of cards. I'm thinking of like Prism and 90s cards where it's like thousands of cards all over the table, but in this case it's like a briefcase with 2 cards in it.
Yep. So what's your answer? Is it a box or is it just a pack?
It's a briefcase.
Yes, that's where I'm landed on this too. It's both. It's a pack inside of a box. Was it not weird? When you guys were ripping National Treasures, was that not like a surreal experience from what you're historically used to doing? Yes. Oh, yeah, it is. I like it though. I don't have as many pieces of junk surrounding me when I'm done.
On to the big ones though, like Origins is a 1-pack box.
Yeah.
Like, there are 1-pack boxes on the low end as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I get it. Like in the 90s, it was like one good card out of every 1,000 boxes and a bunch of junk base cards. And then someone was like, what if we just made one box with like 5 only good cards? Like, let's just cut all the crap out.
Fair. Hometown Authentic asks, is left-right centering more important than top-bottom?
Yes.
626 Sports Cards asks, is the hobby cyclical?
It used to be more in line with cyclical in terms of like you buy in the off season, you sell during the season. That kind of broke off a few years ago, don't you think?
Yeah, I do think, yeah. I think everybody figured it out, and then they tried to play it that way, and then,
Now it's like the opposite, basically.
Yeah, well, it's just funny because, like, a lot of the quarterbacks' prices are going up right now because I think everybody is simultaneously having the bright idea that now's the right time to be buying Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow. It's like, well, everybody's thinking that guy.
Yeah, and it's like when Mahomes wins the Super Bowl, everyone's thinking, let's all sell and get rich, and then the prices actually go down because the supply went up. It's like, yeah, it's kind of the opposite now. Everyone's too smart.
Yep. All right. Let's ask. Is George still here? If George can, if George is still here, we'll get to his question. Card Shop Dad says, how often do you look at the Grail cards in your PC versus the rest?
Well, I know you only do when you make vacations or like family road trips.
But still, even then, it's like, how often, when I'm looking at the collection, how much time is spent on the Grails versus how much time is spent on the rest?
Yeah. I mean, probably like 80-20. Much more time spent on the Grails.
Yep. Although, here's a zag on this.
Zag me.
If it comes to what card do I want to like have on my desk as the object of amusement for the day or for the week or something, then I don't like Grails in that scenario. I don't want the Grail to just be sitting out and I can look at it all the time. Then, it's sort of like there's something not Grail-ish about that. The Grail should be tucked away in this dark, hidden space, and it only gets retrieved once in a while. Versus, so like if it comes to that, like what card am I displaying on my desk or what card is within arm's reach, it's usually not going to be a Grail. It's going to be something a little more common.
I thought you were going to take the route of you don't want your Grail sitting out with like light and sun and like, elements getting onto your. I always do this thing where when I leave my office, because I usually have like my latest mail day out for like a couple of weeks so I can enjoy it.
Yep.
But when I leave the room, I always turn it on its back. And I do that thinking if anything's going to get hit by the light or, whatever, someone spills on it, I want the back of the card to get demolished first.
Right. I thought it was going to be because the card is living in shame. But
No.
That works too.
Nope. I actually got my son, Samuel, I showed him my mail day today, and then I had some other ones out, like previous mail days. And he usually hasn't taken too much interest in it, but today he was like, I really like this one because the jersey on it is much bigger, and it's a cooler looking jersey. And I was like, oh, you're starting to notice like the differences and why one would be better than the other. He's like, and this autograph's a little bit better. He's like, but the grade's lower. But he's like, that doesn't really matter to me because it's just a number. I like the big jersey. And I was like, oh, look at this guy. He's buying the card, not the grade. He's talking about jerseys. Like, look at this guy.
Yeah, that could be like a hobby children's book, like Dr. Seuss style, like buy the card, not the grade, and just have a bunch of rhymes for kids.
Well, I think the take is also like whichever card the young kid, cover your ears, Chris, this is about the kids in the hobby. Whatever card the young kid thinks is better is like the more pure take on it, right? It's like pure aesthetics. They don't even care. They don't know anything about grading, or they don't know about like, hobby importance. They just look at it and all they can see is what it looks like.
Nice. All right, good. Shout out to the purity of kids' ability to look at cards. Okay, so what are we doing here? George is with us. He chimed to say he's with us to the bitter end. George says, with hobby companies now using more and more influencer marketing, shouldn't the company/influencer disclose the paid ad or the sponsored post?
Yes.
Would you like to take a stab at this one?
The answer is yes. It's literally a requirement of Instagram that if you are being paid for an ad, you're supposed to put #ad in the post. Something that people don't do in the hobby, and it's deceitful. It's not transparent.
I think that's good. I think that's.
I want to know.
I don't know what the other side of this question would be. How do you answer this? No, they really shouldn't be. They should leave it up to mystery about whether or not this is an ad.
Yeah, what they're saying, it has compensation behind it, and therefore you should take it with a grain of salt versus what they actually believe in, as if an influencer actually believes in anything.
Yep. Okay. Let's do one more question. This one comes from Ben Cross Country Runner 1. After listening to this week's Stacking Slab podcast, it left me wondering, what are the ways that card companies can potentially tax the collector and therefore remove money from the hobby? Maybe this is naive, but couldn't a profit maximization strategy lead to new innovative products that are fun and that get collectors more interested and excited in the hobby?
Profit maximization strategy. That sounds like a slide on a PowerPoint I do not want to read.
Well, I think the...
So this is a zag on like taking money away from collectors so that the companies can make better cards?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's about right. Yep. But I think the thing is that the real profit maximization strategy must involve collectors being able to have cards that go up in value over time, and gives them the confidence and the extra funds and so forth to keep putting money into the hobby. And that like the way that the companies in the hobby are going to most grow the pie that they are taking a percentage out of is by making the collectors as immersed and involved in it and as engaged as possible. In other words, would you rather want to have 10% of $100 pie or 1% of $1 million pie? All right. That's a bit extreme, but like that's the idea here is like if you push away collectors by taking away their ability to make a margin by engaging, interacting in the markets, you're not going to have much left at all. There's not going to be profit left to maximize when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it's a short-term versus long-term discussion. Like, yeah, you might make more in the short term, and your next year's release might be better than it would have otherwise, but 5 years you're going to be gone because you left all the collectors in the dust and they're not making any money.
Yep.
That's been your take for a while.
Yes, it is. No, it's I've been pissing off people with this take for probably the better part of 3 years.
It's been a good run. You've had a good run.
Yes. And it hasn't stopped. I remember I once got an angry DM from somebody who was like, you can't tell people what to do. Because like at one time I was more aiming this critique at people who like were making a big show out of selling their cards and them just like putting the money into something completely different. Like buying a car or something. And
thank you, sports cards.
Yeah, and I would make the observation like, hey, I am happy for this person, and that's great. And like, it's completely their prerogative and their right to spend their money however they want. But the flip side of it is they just took money that was in the hobby ecosystem, that was cycling through the hobby ecosystem, that was in the hobby. They took it out, and it's gone for good. They took money out of the hobby economy. And if enough people do that, there ain't going to be much of a hobby economy left.
Well, if we let the collectors have more margin, what if they just spend that margin on cars? At least the card companies are going to profit maximize, is that the term? And put that back into more cards.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? It's like, where do the assumption is that most of the time collectors' profits get rolled into buying more cards.
Right. Especially on the grading, like on the grading one where you can like get a PSA 10 and double your money. That money almost always goes back into, because you know, like you're not going to buy a car necessarily when you make those margins, but as they add up, you kind of keep funneling it back into the hobby. You get this PSA return that you've made a couple grand on or whatever because you've made some nice PSA 10s. You put that back into the next batch of grading cards. You put that into the next batch of PC cards, and you sort of keep going. That's what you're talking about.
Exactly. So yeah, okay, all right. Let's wrap up the show here because I needed to leave us a few minutes because we have a lot of potential titles to go through. I will admit, I'm partial to one. So
like Stiff was gone for 2 weeks, and he's trying to make up for all of those 3 weeks tonight with like 50,000 captions.
Right.
Yeah, let's also like take a moment and appreciate that Christina not only did sales but was admin mod of Crossover while Stiff was on his new schedule slacking off. So hats off to me, boys. Hats off to me.
I knew that when Christina started that beautiful entry to the crossover, that it was going to end with her complimenting herself.
I was about to say that cough-riddled, self-complimentary.
All right, let's go through it.
My low-key favorite thing in the world is Stiff and Christina just like battling it out over I'm not sure what.
All right, let's go here. Here's some options.
Giggling.
Plumbers cooking the books. Don't be Jimmy.
Yeah.
You like that one, huh? Demoralizing negative slopes.
What? This is my favorite part of the show. Like, half of these, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that's about. The other half remind me about how great the last 2 hours have been.
Get your milk ready to drink.
That's the spicy thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you said. That's a pre-fart. We didn't do the pre-fart take.
No, we didn't. Megabids are dead in the water. I wish we could answer this question. We say that a lot, probably. We are on our Taylor Swift tour right now.
We're comparing ourselves to the best, literally the most like profitable tour of all time.
What else do we have? Curing cancer and putting people on the moon.
1 week at a time.
Influencer steroids. Let's see. Lloyd Christmas Superfractor. I feel like there probably is like a custom card that is doing that. And then my favorite, the Coughover.
I just love that milk one. Is that weird? Read the milk one again.
Get ready, or I'm sorry. Get your milk ready to drink.
I vote Taylor Swift.
Oh no. You want the milk one? I mean, the milk one works, because like you see, you're like, what? Oh, but you drink milk after something spicy.
You know how you're just like with your friends, it's too late at night, the night needs to end, and you're just giggling at something that makes no sense. That's the milk thing. It just doesn't make any sense, but I love it. Ready? Here comes the spicy.
If you put Taylor Swift in the title, we're going to see a huge surge in the podcast viewership.
Yeah,
you really want Taylor Swift, huh?
I'm with Christina. I think we need the Taylor Swift one.
All right.
Read it out. Read it again.
We're on our Taylor Swift tour right now.
It makes no sense when you read them back. Like,
No, it works.
Like
I like it.
why would we ever say that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you got to tune in and find out where it come from. All right, that's what we're going.
You're doing lowercase again?
Oh, always, yeah, always lowercase.
I don't know is that like a Reddit thing? Just the all lowercase captions just make me giggle.
I don't know. It just seems right.
It's a Reddit thing. It's like a thing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it would be weird, like capitalizing each of these and making it seem very serious and important.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the first comment, can you just put the milk one so that I can...
In the first comment, put that? All right, we can do that, I guess. Runner-up title.
Get your milk ready. Here comes the spicy tea.
All right. Good show, and see everybody next week.
A lot has changed since Card Ladder began. We started with 500 cards in our database, and now we have over 3 million cards and over 30 million sales.
For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
With Card Ladder's sales history feature, we have virtually every card in our system. If the card you are looking for ever sold on one of these platforms, you can find it using Card Ladder's sales history, and you can add a card to your collection with just one click.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Plus, every card, no matter the last time it's sold, has an estimated value that we calculated using our state-of-the-art player indexes. Unlike other apps, when you see Card Ladder's verified checkmark, that means a researcher personally vetted each and every sale.
We know what it takes to be reaching the top.
We know what you want, because Card Ladder was created by collectors for collectors.
Know what it takes to be reaching the top.
Join the innovators, not the imitators. Card Ladder 2.0, constantly innovating. Try it for free. See why Card Ladder is the industry leader in sports card data.
We know what it takes to be reaching the top.
Card Ladder 2.0.